First contact incident. The Valoran High Command's emergency alert system hadn't activated in over 3 centuries. So when Admiral Selena Thrix's crystalline chamber filled with pulsing red light, she initially thought it was a malfunction. Her iridescent scales shifted from their usual calm blue to an agitated purple as she processed the incoming data stream. Unidentified vessel detected in the restricted zone, the automated system announced. Configuration unknown. Energy signatures exceed Category 5 classification. Selena's 4 primary eyes focused on the holographic display materializing before her. The vessel's designed defied all known shipbuilding conventions. Angular where most ships were curved, compact where others were elongated. Most disturbing was its size. Barely a quarter of a Valoran capital ship, yet producing energy readings that suggested far greater capabilities. Initiate standard contact protocols, she ordered, her voice steady despite her growing concern. The ship's trajectory suggested deliberate intent rather than accidental breach. The restricted zone had been established after the Great Collapse, when an entire star system had simply vanished. No species had dared venture there since. Until now. The response to their hail came almost immediately, transmitted in perfect Valoran linguistic patterns. That alone was enough to raise Selena's guard. Their language was notoriously difficult for non-crystalline species to pronounce correctly. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of the Earth vessel Horizon Breaker," the transmission began. The being on their screen was entirely alien to Selena's experience. Soft-skinned, with only 2 eyes, and covered in some kind of synthetic shell they would later learn was called a uniform. "We apologize for the intrusion into your space, but we're tracking something that we believe poses an imminent threat to this entire sector." Selena's scales shifted to a deeper purple. "This is a restricted zone under the authority of the Valoran Protectorate. Your presence here violates multiple treaties." "Treaties we're not party to," Chen responded calmly. "We're a relatively new spacefaring species, Admiral. We didn't exist as an interstellar civilization when your treaties were signed. But right now, that's beside the point. Our sensors have detected what we call a quantum fracture forming in this sector. Based on our calculations, you have approximately 48 hours before it expands beyond containment threshold." Selena's scientific advisor, Nexus Mind Catal, interrupted with a burst of crystalline harmonics. "Impossible. Our sensors would have detected any significant quantum disturbances." The human captain's expression remained neutral, but Selena detected a slight shift in his posture. "Your sensors are based on crystalline quantum resonance technology, correct? They're excellent for most applications, but they have a blind spot. The fracture we're tracking exists in what we call null space, a quantum state your sensors literally cannot perceive." To demonstrate his point, Chen transmitted a data package that, when processed through their systems, revealed a growing void in the quantum fabric of spacetime. It was like suddenly being able to see a predator that had been standing in plain sight all along. "How?" Catal began, their crystalline form vibrating with distress. "Humans evolved on a planet with unusually high background radiation and geological instability," Chen explained. "We learned to detect and manipulate quantum states as a matter of survival before we even understood what they were. It's given us a rather unique perspective on certain aspects of physics." Selena processed this information rapidly. If the humans were right, and the data certainly suggested they were, then they had mere hours to evacuate millions of citizens from the nearby colonies. "Assuming we accept your analysis, Captain, what do you propose?" "We've developed a method to seal quantum fractures, but it requires precise timing and coordination. We'll need your help, Admiral. Your crystalline technology, combined with our quantum manipulation capabilities, might be our best chance at preventing a catastrophe." The implicit offer was clear: cooperation in exchange for sharing of technology. Under normal circumstances, Selena would have rejected such an overture immediately. But these were not normal circumstances. "You realize, Captain, that if you're wrong about this, you'll face severe consequences for violating our space." Chen's response was immediate and carried an edge of what Selina would later learn was characteristic human humor. "If I'm wrong, Admiral, I'll personally submit to whatever punishment you deem appropriate. But if I'm right, and we do nothing, there won't be anyone left to pass judgment." Selina's scales shifted to the deep gold of decisive action. "Very well, Captain Chen. You have 1 hour to present a detailed plan. But be warned, we will be watching your every move." "Understood, Admiral. And for what it's worth, we're counting on it. Humanity didn't come this far into space looking for enemies. We're hoping to find partners." As Selina began coordinating with her staff to verify the humans' claims, she couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change everything. She was right, but not in any way she could have predicted. The quantum fracture was only the beginning. The real challenge would be dealing with humanity itself, a species that seemed to casually defy the laws of physics while maintaining an almost aggressive friendliness. The next 48 hours would prove to be just the first chapter in a much longer story, one that would reshape the understanding between crystalline and carbon-based life forms forever. The Alliance Forge, the Horizon Breaker's engineering bay, was a study in controlled chaos. Captain Chen watched as his chief engineer, Dr. Sarah Martinez, attempted to explain quantum stabilization principles to a group of Valoran scientists. Their crystalline forms shimmered with various colors indicating emotions ranging from fascination to skepticism. "Think of space-time as a fabric," Martinez explained, manipulating a holographic display. "Most species see it as a smooth surface, but humans learn to perceive its quantum threadwork because our homeworld's unusual radiation forced our evolution in that direction. What we're dealing with is essentially a snag in that fabric, pulling apart at the quantum level." Admiral Selina Thrix's scales shifted to a thoughtful green. "And your solution is to stitch it back together?" "More or less," Martinez grinned. "But we'll need your crystalline technology to create the quantum needle, so to speak. Your ability to channel and focus quantum energies is far more precise than anything we've developed." The past 12 hours had been a crash course in cross-species cooperation. The human crew had quickly discovered that the Valorans' crystalline biology gave them an intuitive understanding of quantum mechanics that humans had taken centuries to achieve through technology. Conversely, the Valorans were astounded by humanity's ability to perceive and manipulate quantum states through what they considered crude but remarkably effective methods. "There's something you're not telling us," Selina observed, her scales flickering with suspicion. "This quantum needle approach, it carries significant risks, doesn't it?" Chen exchanged a glance with Martinez before responding. "Yes, the process will generate a massive quantum feedback pulse. The Horizon Breaker can handle it. We're designed for this kind of work. But your ships will need to maintain a safe distance. And yet you'll risk your own vessel and crew." Cull interjected, their crystalline form vibrating with confusion. "It's what we do," Chen said simply. "Humanity has a long history of running toward danger when others run away. Sometimes it's courage, sometimes it's stupidity, but it's gotten us this far." The Valorans' reaction to this was interrupted by a sudden alert. The quantum fracture had grown by 30% in the last hour, far faster than predicted. "We're out of time for debate," Martinez announced, her hands flying over the control interfaces. "The fracture's reaching critical instability. We need to act now." What followed was a flurry of activity as human and Valoran crews rushed to implement their hastily devised plan. The Horizon Breaker would position itself at the heart of the fracture, using its quantum drives to generate a containment field. The Valoran ships would form a precise geometric pattern around it, their crystalline cores channeling and focusing the quantum energies needed to seal the breach. As the ships moved into position, Chen noticed Selina studying him intently. "Something on your mind, Admiral." "Your species confounds me, Captain," she admitted. "You possess technology that rivals or exceeds our own in many ways, yet you seem almost casual about its use. You face possible death with what appears to be humor. And despite our initial hostility, you've shared critical technical knowledge without demanding anything in return." Chen smiled. "Humanity learned early on that knowledge grows when shared, Admiral. As for the rest, well, we find that maintaining a sense of humor in the face of death helps us focus on living. And if this fails, if the quantum feedback destroys your ship, then we'll have died trying to save millions of lives. There are worse ways to go." The Admiral's scales shifted through several colors before settling on a deep blue that Chen had never seen before. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "we have more to learn from humans than quantum mechanics." The next few hours would put both species to the test as they attempted something never before tried in known space. The quantum fracture had grown to encompass nearly a light-year of space, its edges fraying reality itself. The combined fleet moved into position, each ship's crew knowing they were either about to make history or become part of it. As Chen gave the order to begin the sealing procedure, he couldn't help but smile at the absurdity of it all. Humanity's first official contact with the Valoran Protectorate was about to involve what essentially amounted to sewing up a hole in the universe with a quantum needle and thread. "All ships in position," Martins reported. "Quantum drive spooling up to maximum output. Valoran fleet reports ready," the communications officer added. "They're awaiting your signal, Captain." Chen took a deep breath, looking around at his crew, the best Earth had to offer, about to attempt something that would either cement humanity's place among the stars or end in spectacular failure. "Well," he said, "let's show our new friends what humans can do." Begin sealing sequence. The fabric of space-time itself seemed to hold its breath as human ingenuity and Valoran precision prepared to work together for the first time, but certainly not the last, to face a threat that neither species could handle alone. Trial by fire. The universe, as it turned out, didn't appreciate being sewn back together. The combined fleet had barely initiated the sealing sequence when the quantum fracture reacted violently. Waves of distorted space-time rippled outward, twisting reality in ways that made both human and Valoran sensors scream in protest. "Well, that's new," Martins muttered, her fingers dancing across multiple control interfaces simultaneously. The fracture's generating some kind of quantum resonance feedback. It's almost like it's fighting back. Captain Chen watched as the holographic display showed their carefully positioned fleet beginning to lose formation. The quantum turbulence was particularly affecting the Valoran ships, their crystalline hulls vibrating at frequencies that threatened to tear them apart. "Admiral Thrix," he called over the command channel, "your ships need to pull back. The resonance will shatter your hulls if you maintain this position." Selena's image flickered on the screen, her scales a storm of shifting colors. "If we withdraw, the containment pattern will fail. The fracture will expand exponentially." "Better than losing your entire fleet," Chen countered. "We'll find another way." "There is no other way, and you know it, Captain." The Admiral's scales settled into a deep, resolute crimson. "We knew the risks. My people will hold position as long as necessary." Chen turned to Martinez. "Options." The engineer was already 3 steps ahead, typical of her problem-solving style. "The resonance is building because we're trying to force the quantum fabric to reconnect in a specific pattern. But what if we let it choose its own pattern?" "You want to improvise quantum surgery?" Chen asked, incredulous. "The universe knows how to heal itself," Martinez argued. "We're just trying to help it along. But maybe we're being too rigid about the method." Before Chen could respond, a new alarm blared through the ship. The fracture had begun spinning, creating a vortex of twisted space-time that threatened to pull in the entire fleet. "All ships, full power to stabilizers," Chen ordered. "Engineering, whatever you're going to try, do it fast." Martinez was already reconfiguring the quantum drive. "Instead of trying to seal a fracture directly, we'll create a framework of quantum anchor points. Let the natural forces of space-time do the actual repair work. Like providing a scaffold for healing tissue," Chen realized. "Admiral Thrix, did you copy that?" "Affirmative." Selina responded, "Reconfiguring our crystal matrices now." "But Captain, this is purely theoretical. There's no guarantee it will work." "Welcome to human science, Admiral. Half our greatest discoveries started with, theoretically, this might work." The next few minutes were a symphony of organized chaos. The Horizon Breaker's quantum drive hummed at frequencies that made human teeth vibrate and Valoran crystals sing. The Valoran fleet, despite the enormous strain on their ships, maintained their positions with incredible precision, their crystalline technology channeling and focusing the quantum energies in ways that human technology alone could never achieve. And slowly, impossibly, it began to work. The fracture's violent spinning began to slow as the quantum scaffold took shape around it. Natural forces of space-time, given a framework to work with, began pulling the torn edges of reality back together. "It's working," Martinez exclaimed, then immediately added, "But the energy readings are off the scale. The scaffold won't hold for long." "It doesn't need to hold forever," Chen said. "It just needs to hold long enough." He opened a channel to all ships. "This is it, people. Full power to the scaffold. Everything you've got." The combined fleet poured every ounce of energy they could spare into the quantum framework. Human ingenuity and Valoran precision worked in perfect harmony, creating something entirely new in the process. The fracture, caught in their artificial lattice of quantum energy, began to close. But the universe had one final surprise in store. Just as the fracture was nearly sealed, a massive quantum surge erupted from its center. The blast caught the Horizon Breaker directly, overloading systems and sending cascading failures through every deck. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 7. The damage control officer shouted. "Quantum drive is critical. Reroute all power to containment." Chen ordered, holding onto his chair as the ship shuddered around them. "We need to hold it together for just a few more seconds." Through the chaos, Martinez's voice cut through. "Captain, the quantum surge. It's not random. There's a pattern to it, almost like." "Like what?" "Like a message." Before she could elaborate, the quantum surge peaked in a brilliant flash of energy that overwhelmed every sensor in the fleet. When the systems finally recovered, the fracture was gone, sealed as if it had never existed. But in its place, embedded in the quantum fabric of space itself, was a pattern of energy that would keep both human and Valoran scientists busy for decades to come. As emergency crews began assessing damage and treating injuries, Chen opened a channel to the Valoran flagship. "Admiral status." Selina's image appeared, her scales cycling through colors so rapidly it was almost dizzying. "We're operational, Captain. Though I believe several of our scientists are having what you might call religious experiences." Chen laughed, then winced as the movement aggravated what felt like several broken ribs. "Can't blame them. I think we just made several new entries in the physics textbooks." Indeed, the Admiral's scales finally settled on a color Chen had never seen before, a shifting aurora of blues and golds. "Though I suspect the physics may be the least interesting part of what we've discovered today." The counterstrike. The Horizon Breaker's medical bay was crowded with both human and Valoran personnel, their injuries a testament to the battle they'd just survived. Captain Chen sat on an examination table, trying not to wince as the ship's doctor treated his broken ribs. Across the room, Admiral Thrix's crystalline form pulsed with muted colors as her own medical team addressed the microfractures in her outer shell. "The pattern," Martine said, projecting a hologram in the center of the medical bay. "It's not just random quantum noise. Look at the structure." The hologram showed an intricate web of quantum energy, pulsing in what appeared to be a deliberate sequence. The Valoran scientists had joined the impromptu briefing, their crystalline forms resonating in harmony with the displayed frequencies. "It's a blueprint," Catal announced, their crystalline surface flickering with excitement. "But not for any technology we've ever encountered." Chen leaned forward, ignoring his protesting ribs. "A blueprint for what?" "We believe," Selina interrupted, her scales shifting to a deep, thoughtful blue. It's a blueprint for combining human and Valoran technology in ways neither of our species imagined possible. Martinez nodded enthusiastically. The quantum fracture wasn't an accident. It was a test, or maybe an invitation. From who? Chen asked the question everyone was thinking. Before anyone could respond, the ship's alert system activated. Multiple quantum signatures detected, the AI announced. Similar to the original fracture but smaller. Current count, 17 and rising. Chen and Selena shared a look. We're being surrounded, the Admiral stated, her scales darkening. No, Martinez countered, studying the new data. They're creating a pattern. Look, they're forming the same quantum framework we used to seal the first fracture, but on a massive scale. The medical bay's holographic display expanded to show the developing situation. Dozens of small quantum fractures had appeared in a precise geometric pattern spanning several light years. At the center of the pattern was a larger disturbance, different from the others. That's not a fracture, Cull observed, their crystalline form vibrating with intensity. It's a door. Chen managed to stand, suppressing a grunt of pain. A door to where? Unknown, Selena replied. But the pattern suggests it's stable. Unlike the fracture we just sealed, this was created deliberately. By whoever left us the blueprint, Martinez added. Captain, I think we're being invited to step through. The implications were staggering. Some unknown intelligence had orchestrated this entire event. The fracture, the necessary collaboration between humans and Valorans, the discovery of the blueprint, all leading to this moment. It could be a trap, Chen mused. Undoubtedly, Selena agreed, her scales rippling with anticipation. But it could also be the greatest discovery in both our species' histories. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Despite protests from medical staff, both human and Valoran crews worked frantically to understand what they were facing. Martinez and Cull led a joint team in analyzing the blueprint, making remarkable progress thanks to their complementary approaches to quantum mechanics. The blueprint isn't just about technology, Martinez explained during an emergency briefing. It's showing us how to merge human intuitive understanding of quantum states with Valoran crystalline precision. Together, we could create something entirely new. We're already attempting a prototype, Cull added. A quantum resonance device that combines human perception technology with Valoran crystal matrices. Early tests suggest it could allow us to communicate through the quantum door. Chen looked at Selena. Thoughts, Admiral. The Valoran leader's scales had settled into a steady, determined gold. 24 hours ago, we were suspicious allies facing a crisis. Now we're on the verge of something unprecedented. My scientists believe this could revolutionize our understanding of the universe. And if whatever's on the other side of that door isn't friendly. Selena's response carried a hint of what could only be described as humor. Then they'll learn what happens when they provoke both humanity's creative chaos and Valoran precision at the same time. The decision was made. Both the Horizon Breaker and Selena's flagship, Crystal Ascendant, would approach the quantum door while the rest of the fleet maintained a safe distance. The prototype quantum resonance device was installed on both ships, creating a synchronized field that the scientists hoped would protect them during the transition. As they approached the threshold, Martinez made one final adjustment to the device. You know, she said to no one in particular, in human history, most of our greatest adventures started with someone opening a door they probably shouldn't have. In Valoran history, Cull responded, our greatest achievements came from careful analysis and precise action. Then it's a good thing we're doing this together, Chen said, settling into his command chair. The Horizon Breaker's systems hummed in perfect harmony with the Crystal Ascendant's crystalline resonance. All systems synchronized, Martinez reported. Quantum field is stable. We're ready. Chen opened a channel to the Valoran flagship. Admiral. Selena's scales were a kaleidoscope of determination and anticipation. Together, Captain. Let's see what's on the other side. The two ships, representatives of civilizations that had been strangers mere days ago, moved forward as one. The quantum door pulsed with energy, responding to their approach. As they crossed the threshold, the last thing Chen saw on his sensors was the combined fleet behind them, human and Valoran ships standing watch together. Whatever waited on the other side, humanity and the Valorans would face it as one, a partnership forged in crisis and tempered by shared discovery. The universe, it seemed, had plans for both their species. Victory's price. The transition through the quantum door felt like being turned inside out while remaining perfectly still. When reality stabilized, both the Horizon Breaker and Crystal Ascendant found themselves in what appeared to be an entirely different universe, or perhaps a pocket of space that existed between universes. The void before them was filled with crystalline structures that dwarfed both ships, each one pulsing with quantum energy in patterns that seemed hauntingly familiar. The structures formed what could only be described as a city, though one built on a scale that challenged comprehension. "Are you seeing this, Admiral?" Chen asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Indeed," Selena replied, her scales shifting through colors so rapidly they nearly strove. "Though I'm not entirely sure I believe it." Martinez's voice cut through their awe. "Captain, these structures. They're generating quantum fields similar to both our quantum drive and Valoran crystal matrices. But the complexity, it's like comparing a child's drawing to a masterpiece." Before anyone could respond, a new presence made itself known. It wasn't a voice or an image, but rather a direct transmission of thought and emotion that somehow bridged the gap between human and Valoran consciousness with ease. "Welcome, children of Earth and Valor. We have waited long for species capable of true cooperation." The presence identified itself as part of a collective called the Quantum Architects, beings who had evolved beyond physical form to exist as patterns in the quantum fabric of space-time itself. They had been watching both humanity and the Valorans for centuries, waiting for the right moment to make contact. The fracture, Chen realized. You created it as a test. A test and an opportunity, the presence confirmed. Your species complement each other in ways neither of you fully understand. Humanity's intuitive grasp of quantum mechanics combined with Valoran crystalline precision. Together, you have the potential to join us among the stars. Join you? Selena's question carried equal parts hope and suspicion. In what capacity? The answer came in a flood of images and concepts that nearly overwhelmed their minds. The quantum architects were custodians of countless realities, maintaining the delicate balance of space-time across multiple dimensions. But they were finite, and the multiverse was infinite. They needed help. Specifically, help from species that could bring new perspectives to their ancient work. "You want us to become like you?" Martines asked, fascinated by the technical details flowing through her mind. "To evolve beyond physical form." "Eventually," the presence answered. "But first, you must learn to work together. To combine your strengths. To trust." The next several hours were filled with revelations that would change both civilizations forever. The quantum architects shared knowledge freely, showing them glimpses of technologies and sciences that merged human innovation with Valoran precision in ways neither species had imagined possible. But with knowledge came choice. "We offer partnership," the architects explained. "But the path will not be easy. It will require both your species to change, to grow beyond your current limitations. Some will resist. Many will fear the implications." Chen looked at Selena through the view screen, seeing his own thoughts reflected in her shifting scales. "What happens if we refuse? You return home, your memories of this place intact. Your species continue on their separate paths. No penalty, no punishment. Choice must be free to be meaningful." A moment of silence fell over both ships as the implications sank in. It was Selena who finally spoke. "When my ancestors first developed crystal technology, there were those who feared it would change our species too fundamentally. They were right. It did change us. It made us better." Chen nodded. Humanity's history is a long series of changes we weren't sure we were ready for, but we took the leap anyway. Then you choose to proceed. The captain and admiral shared one final look. In that moment, they weren't representatives of different species, but pioneers standing on the brink of a new frontier. "We choose to proceed," they said in unison. What followed would be remembered in both human and Valoran history as the Great Awakening. The quantum architects shared with them the first steps of what would be a long journey, the beginning of a transformation that would span generations. As the two ships prepared to return home, carrying knowledge that would reshape both their civilizations, the architects left them with one final message. You came here as two species seeking answers. You leave as the first of a new kind of being, one that bridges the gap between matter and energy, between intuition and precision, between what is and what could be. The universe has waited long for this moment. The journey back through the quantum door felt different, not just a transition through space, but a transition in perspective. When they emerged, the combined fleet was waiting exactly where they'd left it, though to them, it looked somehow smaller, more finite than before. "So," Chen said to Selena as they prepared to address their waiting crews, "ready to change the universe." The Admiral's scales settled into a new color, one that seemed to shimmer with both human determination and Valoran precision. "No," she replied, "but we'll do it anyway. It's what our species do best." As the combined fleet set course for home, carrying the seeds of a transformation that would reshape the galaxy, both human and Valoran crews found themselves looking at the stars differently. They were no longer just points of light in the darkness, but waypoints on a journey that would take them beyond the boundaries of what either species had thought possible. The human war machine and the Valoran crystal ships had come together in crisis, found partnership in challenge, and discovered destiny in the quantum spaces between realities. It was just the beginning.